Dear students, this is a lecture series on carbohydrates. I have planned to give you an overview of carbohydrates in three different lectures. The first lecture will be dealing with the general characteristic features of carbohydrates and monosaccharides. Let's go into the lecture. Carbohydrates are the most abundant biomolecule in nature. Chemically, it is defined as the polyhydric alcohols with aldehyde or ketone groups. It is made up of three important elements, namely carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The examples of carbohydrate include glucose. Glucose is an energy provider. If you take human beings, glucose is the major source of energy. In fact, the brain is capable of deriving its energy only from glucose. So, glucose is a highly significant molecule as far as human being is concerned. The next example is starch. Starch is the most abundant carbohydrate in plants because starch is the end product of photosynthesis, which is the process of conversion of light energy into chemical energy in the presence of chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, and water. So starch is the abundant molecule in plants. Then cellulose. Cellulose is the major component of the cell wall of plants. Deoxyribose is the component of this DNA, the genetic material. So these carbohydrates perform diversified functions in the living system. Classification of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are classified into three types, namely monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Monosaccharides are simpler carbohydrate units. If you hydrolyze a monosaccharide, then we will not get a carbohydrate further. That is why it is called as the simpler unit of the carbohydrate. Very good example of monosaccharide is glucose. Apart from glucose, we have fructose, galactose, etc. Disaccharides are made up of two monosaccharide units. If you hydrolyze a disaccharide, we will get two monosaccharide units. Examples of disaccharides are sucrose, lactose, etc. Polysaccharides are made up of many monosaccharide units. If you hydrolyze a polysaccharide, we will get many monosaccharide units. Very good example is starch, cellulose, glycogen, etc. This is one system or one way of classifying the carbohydrates. There is also another way of classifying the carbohydrates, which you can come across in many books also. That is, carbohydrates are classified into monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. Oligosaccharides means carbohydrates that are made up of few monosaccharide units. Oligosaccharides, a very good example is maltodextrose. Disaccharides are also included in the oligosaccharide. This is one way of classifying the carbohydrates. But for our convenience, I am following the classification as monosaccharide, disaccharide, and polysaccharide. Now let's go into the monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are further classified into 5 types depending on the number of carbon atom present in it. Based on the number of carbon atom, it is classified into triose, which is having 3 carbon atom. Example is glyceraldehyde. Tetrose, 4 carbon atoms. Example is erythrose. Pentose, 5 carbon atom. Example is ribose. Hexose, 6 carbon atom. Example is glucose. Heptose, example is pseudoheptulose, which contains 7 carbon atoms in it. So these monosaccharides are classified into 5 types based on the number of carbon atoms present in it, such as triose, tetrose, pentose, hexose, and heptose. We shall pass on to the structural part of the carbohydrate. We can represent the carbohydrates or any compound generally through a molecular formula. So the molecular, here I have given two example, glucose and fructose. The molecular formula of glucose and fructose, both the compound is C6H12O6. But this glucose and fructose can be represented in other way also. This structure we call it as the open chain structure. See this glucose, it is forming a chain-like structure. That is why it is called as open chain. It is open, it is not closed, it is an open chain. That is why it is called as open chain structure. Glucose is a 6-carbon compound. Fructose is also a 6-carbon compound. So this way of representing this compound is called as open chain structure. Then we have ring structure also. The glucose as well as fructose, the two examples I have taken, can be represented as a ring. This ring structure was proposed by Haworth. So it is also called as Haworth structure. There are two types of ring. This is the pyrene ring. So this glucose that is represented here, you could see this is glucopyranose. And this is the second one. It is the furan ring. The difference between is this pyrene ring, there are 6 atoms, which includes 5 carbon and 1 oxygen. Whereas in the furan ring, we have 5 atoms, 4 carbon plus 1 oxygen. So glucose as well as fructose can be represented in both the ring structure. Glucose can be represented in the pyrene ring as well as the furan ring also. Similarly, this fructose can be represented in both the rings. Then coming to the aldoses and ketoses. In the first slide itself, we have seen that these carbohydrates or polyhydroxy alcohols, which have an aldehyde or ketone group present in it. If a carbohydrate is having an aldehyde group in it, then we call it as an aldose, simply as aldose sugar. So we are dealing with monosaccharide. Two examples I have given, one for aldehyde or aldose sugar and another one is for keto sugar. Glucose is a 6-carbon compound, we have seen it. And this first carbon in the open chain formula, it is CHO, which is an aldehyde group. That is why we call sugar as an aldose sugar. The ketone group, you take fructose in the open chain format. The second carbon, C double bond O, it is a ketone group. So fructose is a ketose sugar. We call glucose as an aldose sugar because of the presence of aldehyde group. We call fructose as a keto sugar because of the presence of the ketone group in it. Now we shall pass on to the next important area called as isomerism. Isomer means compound that have the same molecular formula but differ in their structure. We call them as the isomers. A very good example for this is glucose and fructose. The molecular formula of glucose and fructose is C6H12O6. Both share the same molecular formula, but see the structural difference. Glucose is an aldehyde sugar or aldose sugar. Fructose is a keto sugar. Structurally, we could see the difference in it. That is why they are isomers. They are isomers to each other. We have different types of isomerism. The first one is stereoisomer. Stereoisomer means compounds that have the same molecular and structural formula. Structurally also they are similar, but they are differing in their spatial arrangement. So you take, this is an example I have given glucose, how this molecule is differing from one another. Say for example, glucose and galactose. It is depending on the arrangement, the spatial arrangement. So now you have to come across a term called as chimeric carbon or asymmetric carbon. So chimeric carbon means a carbon that is attached to 4 different groups. That carbon we call it as the chimeric carbon or asymmetric carbon. So glucose in its open chain structure have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is carbon number 2, carbon number 3, carbon number 4 and carbon number 5 are called as chiral carbons or asymmetric carbons. There is a formula to calculate the number of stereoisomers, 2 to the power n. N stands for number of asymmetric carbon or chiral carbon. So in the case of glucose, the number of chiral carbon is 4. So 2 to the power 4, it is 16. 16 stereoisomers are possible for glucose. Let's see a few examples. So the stereoisomer examples of glucose, we have, you can see if you look into the structure, they differ only in the arrangement. So you say you take glucose or you take mannose or all these compounds, or you take galactose, they differ in the arrangement, only in the spatial arrangement of the atoms. This we call it as the stereoisomer. Epimers. Epimer is a type of isomer in which there is only a single change between two compounds, that too around a single carbon or around a single chiral center. So this we call it as an epimer. Epimers are compounds that differ from each other around a single chiral carbon. A very good example for this is glucose and galactose. They are C4 epimers. So this is glucose. Glucose is given in the center, and on the left hand side we have mannose and we have galactose on the right hand side. Mannose is C2 epimer. That means mannose and glucose differ from each other only with reference to carbon number 2. There is no other difference between these two compounds. Likewise, glucose and galactose, they differ from each other only around carbon number 4. There is no difference between these two compounds anywhere else. These compounds are called as epimers. Then we have D and L designation. D and L designation is determined by the penultimate carbon in the open chain structure. So that is the 5th carbon in the case of glucose. Example is the penultimate carbon. So CH2OH is the 6th one. So the 5th carbon, if the OH group attached to the carbon is on the right hand side, then it is called as D. It is designated as D. If the OH group is attached to on the left hand side, then it is called as L. That's the difference between D and L. Then we have alpha and beta anomers. So this is the isomeric form that we can observe in this Haworth structure. So the open chain structure only will be transformed into this Haworth cyclic structure. So the first carbon usually in the open chain format will not be an asymmetric one. But as it assumes this cyclic form, it will be converted into an asymmetric center or asymmetric form. So now carbon number 1 becomes asymmetric, so it is capable of forming an isomer. So in the case of glucose, two different molecules are attached to it. One is H and another one is OH. Two different groups are attached to it. One is H and another one is OH. So if the OH group attached to the first carbon, that we call it as the anomeric carbon, if the OH group is below the ring, then it is called as alpha anomer. If the OH group attached to the anomeric carbon is above the ring, then we call it as beta. So that is the difference between alpha and beta, which is determined by the presence of the OH group, whether it is above or below the ring. If it is above, then it is called as beta. If it is below, then it is called as alpha. And finally, we have to know the difference between reducing and non-reducing sugar. Reducing sugar means sugars that serve as reducing agents due to the presence of free aldehyde or ketone group. If a sugar molecule is having a free aldehyde or ketone group, then we call that sugar as an reducing sugar. It is free. It should not be attached to any other group. Very good example for reducing sugar is glucose and fructose. Both are monosaccharides. If there is no free aldehyde or ketone group, sometimes this aldehyde group or ketone group will be attached to some other groups. So they cannot act as reducing agent. A very good example is sucrose, which is a disaccharide, which we'll see in the next lecture. So sucrose is not a reducing sugar because of the absence of free aldehyde or ketone group. So this is a very important aspect as far as the chemical reaction of the carbohydrate is concerned. So now we have come to the last part of the lecture. Let me conclude. Carbohydrates are polyhydric alcohols with an aldehyde or ketone group. Carbohydrates are the most abundant biomolecule in nature. Principally, it is made up of three important elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbohydrates perform vital functions in a living system. They act as energy providers like glucose, or they act as structural components like cellulose or peptidoglycan, storage molecules such as starch, etc. And these carbohydrates are classified into three types: mono, di, and polysaccharides. There is also other way of classifying the carbohydrates as mono, oligo, and polysaccharides. The monosaccharides are further classified into triose, tetrose, pentose, hexose, and heptose, depending upon the number of carbon atoms present in it. The structural representation of the monosaccharides, we can represent it through molecular formula, open chain structure, or Haworth projection or Haworth cyclic structure. Any way you can represent a compound. Two important monosaccharides which we have seen is glucose and fructose. Glucose is an aldose sugar because of the presence of an aldehyde group in it. Fructose is a keto sugar because of the presence of a ketone group in it. Both are isomers to each other. That means both glucose and fructose have the same molecular formula but differ in their structure. So this we call it as an isomer. We have seen about different types of isomer. Stereoisomer. Stereoisomers are determined by the number of chimeric carbon or asymmetric carbon present in a compound. The example which we have seen is glucose. Glucose have 4 asymmetric carbon. So there is a formula to calculate the stereoisomer, 2 to the power n. N stands for asymmetric carbon. So the number of asymmetric carbon present in glucose is 4. So 2 to the power n is equal to 16. 16 stereoisomers are possible for glucose. We have also seen about the D and L isomer. D and L isomer is determined the OH group attached to the carbon number 5, that is a penultimate carbon. 5 in the case of glucose. If the OH group is on the right hand side, then we call it as D, and the OH group it is on the left hand side, it is called as L. Then there is also an isomeric form called as epimers. Epimers are compounds that differ in their structure only around a single asymmetric carbon. Very good example is glucose and galactose. They are C4 epimers. Glucose and galactose, they differ from each other only around carbon number 4. The next isomer we have seen is the alpha and beta anomeric form, because if you represent glucose in the open chain format, the carbon number 1 is not an asymmetric one. But when it is represented in the cyclic form, it becomes asymmetric. So C1 becomes anomeric carbon. If the OH group attached to the C1 or the anomeric carbon is on the lower side of the ring structure, then we call it as alpha anomer. If the OH group attached to the C1 is above the ring, then we call it as beta. So these are the different types of isomeric forms with reference to the monosaccharides. A very important aspect of this monosaccharide is the reducing property. They are reducing sugar. Reducing sugar means the presence of free aldehyde or ketone group. If a monosaccharide is having a free aldehyde or ketone group, then they are capable of acting as reducing agent. So these sugars are called as reducing sugars. If a free aldehyde or ketone group is not present, then these sugars cannot act as reducing agents. So they are called as non-reducing sugar. For reducing sugar, very good example is glucose, fructose, galactose, etc. For non-reducing sugar, we have a disaccharide sucrose as example. With that, the overview on the monosaccharide is over. In the next lecture, we shall see about the disaccharides. Thank you.